How your sister makes you hate her. I can officially say that I hate my sister. For the longest time, I didn't even know that I hated her, but I think the resentment and bitterness and hurt and just unresolved feelings that I had towards my sister, they've actually always been an indicator that I actually don't love my sister. And the reason I'm saying that she's the one who makes me not to love her, it's because in my childhood, in my early 20s, the reason I would have never said I hate my sister, it's because I didn't want to feel like that. Okay? I didn't want to hate my sister. But because my sister has emotionally abused me, bullied me, belittled me, bossed me around, this is my younger sister, mind you, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter whether she was my older sister or younger sister. It just doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, my sister and I have had a very unhealthy relationship. And the only reason that for some time it seemed like we got along, it's because I tolerated her bullcrap. I tolerated her belittling me, making me feel some type of way. There's a video that actually talks about 8 signs that you have a toxic siblings. And some of the signs that they mention is that with this sibling, with my sister, she doesn't respect my boundaries. She makes me feel anxious. I mean, used to, because now I'm starting to establish boundaries. I'm starting to cut my sister out of my life emotionally. And that's just the truth of the matter. I'm living with my sister currently, but emotionally, I am cutting my sister out of my life because I just cannot stand the way that she makes me feel. I've mentioned this, that in 2021, I was even led to depression because she used to gaslight me. She used to bully me. Like, it was so subtle that maybe it wasn't as subtle as I thought it was, but I wouldn't have said it was abuse. I really didn't think it was abuse. Her making me feel anxious, her not respecting my boundaries. Those are the type of things that we usually don't consider to be abusive. But it is actually abusive when people don't respect your boundaries, when people make you feel anxious. Some of the things that are mentioned in this video of like spotting a toxic sibling is that they're exhausting to be around. And this is so true. Like when I was about to go into depression and while I was there, like there was this sense of exhaustion. Like I felt so, like being around my sister felt so exhausting. And that's because my sister is actually she's pretty negative. Most of the time she wants to talk about other people. And listen, I'm not setting myself to be above her or above anyone else for that matter to say, oh, I don't talk about other people, or I'm never negative. Sometimes I do those things. Okay, sometimes I really do, but my sister is exhausting to be around because majority of what she speaks about is like other people, negative stuff, belittling me, making me feel small, making me feel anxious. And so it really became exhausting to be around her. Another sign is that there is an unhealthy rivalry between us. And one time it's crazy because I think it was towards the end of 2021 where I actually told, yeah, this was the time where she was gaslighting me the most. I've mentioned this before, that one time my sister insisted that I had watched an episode of a TV show. She insists, and I kept telling her I didn't watch the show, and she insisted. That is part of emotional abuse. That is part of psychological abuse. That is gaslighting someone. She insisted. She was telling me. She was trying to convince me while I was telling her that, hey, I didn't watch this show. And she insisted, no, you watched it. And I tried to talk to her about this, but of course it wasn't fruitful. It wasn't a productive conversation because it never is. It never is. That's why I'm just cutting my sister out of my life emotionally. I mentioned to her that I sometimes feel like we have emotional fights where sometimes it's not a verbal fight or an argument, or like we having I don't know, it's sometimes it doesn't manifest itself physically, but I think I started to feel that sometimes there are emotional fights between us, and that is where the resentment, the bitterness, the jealousy, competitiveness comes in, because all these are emotional things that you can sense as a person. I always say that God made us so beautifully because you can sense these things. Someone might not tell you that they hate you, they might even act like they love you, but because we have a God given sense, we have a God given intuition, you can sense that I don't think this person really likes me, even though they might try as hard as possible to hide it. And so I went to tell her because I was trying to tell her how, and she didn't even really realize how that affected me. Because what I did the next day, I watched the episode of the TV show that she insisted that I watched. And when I watched it the next day, I realized that I didn't watch the entire episode. There is no way my memory is that bad. I mean, I know myself. If I had memory problems, I would be able to tell because it would obviously affect different areas of my life. And so when I watched that episode that she had insisted that I did watch it, when I watched it the next day, and I was watching it, now it was also a point to prove to myself that, hey, my memory is not that bad. I cannot forget an entire episode of a TV show. So I watched it the next day, and then I had this conversation with her. I told her that, hey, the episode that you told me that I watched, and when I told you that I didn't, you insisted that I did, because she's very, what's the word? She likes to dominate. She likes to have the last word. So in that scenario where she was insisting that I had watched this TV show, this episode, it was her being a bully, bossing me around, wanting to have the last word, and having no regard of my opinion, having no regard of my memory. So instead of her listening to me and then maybe thinking, let's say maybe she made a mistake, which she didn't, honestly, because she's just a bully. Let's say maybe my sister made a mistake and she thought that I had watched the episode. She could have given me the chance to, like, kind of run through the situation of me saying, hey, I don't remember watching this, because we were watching that first segment where, like, before a TV show plays, they say previously on. And when I saw that previously on, I realized that, oh, I didn't watch the previous episode. So instead of her saying like, oh, but I thought you were with me when you were watching this, she was not gentle about it. She just wanted to have the last word and tell me, not listen to me, not maybe make me remember if she thought I had watched the show. No, she was telling me. She was insisting that I watched it. And so when I did watch the episode the next day, and then I had the conversation with her, I told her that, it really made me upset that you said I had watched this TV show when I hadn't. And when I watched it, I realized that I actually didn't watch it and you insisted that I watched it. And then I told her that sometimes I feel like we have emotional fights. And she just went on to defend herself as per usual. Like there can never be any sort of fruitful outcome from any conversation or addressing a matter or confrontation that I have with my sister. I no longer find it useful. She went on to defend herself, as to say she really thought I watched the episode, but she didn't really understand how much that had hurt me. For you to feel like you are so right, for you to feel like you are so dominating that you completely, like, you completely trump my opinion, my memory, you completely walk all over it and insist that what you remember, that what you are saying is true, instead of taking the time to acknowledge my memory. And so in this video, when they spoke about the signs of a toxic sibling and saying that you have unhealthy rivalry between you two, I realized that when I mentioned that I feel like my sister and I have emotional fights, it really hit hard that there's really an unhealthy rivalry between us. A certain level of rivalry or competitiveness between siblings sometimes exists, okay? But then there's a case where you have a sister like mine who's bossy, a bully, and just dominates. I feel like there's another word that I'm looking for. Not necessarily dominates, who just overpowers. Yes, very, very overpowering in her opinion, very overpowering in her personality, very overpowering in her way of being, in her way of handling things. Another sign is that they manipulate you. This for the longest time, her and my mother, but today is not about my mother, it's just about my sister. Very manipulative, and she constantly criticizes me, always. They blame, another sign is that they blame you for everything. Again, my sister, like, sometimes she would even make it like a joke, the way that my sister would blame me for stuff. Like, maybe my mother would ask, like, why didn't you guys do this, or who was supposed to do this? And then she would make it like it's a joke and say, oh, it's her. And that was part of the emotional abuse. Flip, man. Like, whenever I'm talking about these things, there's a part of me that just almost feels like I don't believe how twisted and sick my sister is. And a part of me wants to reason, wants to justify, maybe not justify, just reason, because I know that she has been through some things in her life that perhaps have made her this bully. And I also know that the fact that she was the golden child for my narcissistic mother also really contributed to her, to my sister being narcissistic, being an emotional abuser, being a bully, being bossy, being a manipulator, all of those things. But those justifications, those reasons, for me, like whenever we talk about like, oh, the reason like someone hurts you is because they're also hurting or somebody hurt them, then let's all just be freaking assholes because we've all been hurt by someone. How about we all just act in the crappiest way because someone also hurt me and someone also hurt you, someone also hurt somebody else, then let's just all be jerks, right? Let's just all be bullies. Let's just all be mean to one another because we've been hurt before, because we have pain, because we are hurting. For me, that's not a justification. Like, your pain shouldn't be a justification to hurt other people. Like, I know my sister has been through her personal things that might have hurt her, and now she has in turn become her pain, and she takes it out on other people. But at the same time, I still don't want to use that as a justification because we are still responsible for our actions. I don't care who hurt you. Like, I sympathize, but really, that's not a reason to go around hurting people. And another reason is that they left a lot of damage in your life. That was the last sign from the video of like a toxic sibling. And my sister, good old Lord, she left a damage in my life. And I'm praying to God that God heals it, because even the reason that I can't trust people, even the reason that I still have some level of social anxiety, even the reason that I'm not as confident and as bold and as trusting of my abilities, it's because of my bullying sister. It's because of my narcissistic sister and my narcissistic mother. It's because of the way they treated me, the way they made me feel, the emotional abuse, the manipulation, the making me feel small, the chipping away at my self-esteem and confidence. It is all those things that have made it hard for me now as an adult to function. But by the grace of God, I'm learning and I'm unlearning certain things. I'm learning to parent myself. I'm learning to love myself. I'm learning to value myself, all by the grace of God. No thanks whatsoever to my family, because they didn't really contribute anything positive to my life. And that's just how I feel. They really didn't contribute anything positive to my life. The only thing that I always say that I'm grateful for when it comes to my mother is that she actually started me on the path of knowing Jesus Christ. But really, when it comes to emotional stuff, when it comes to building and boosting my self-esteem, my confidence, letting me know, making me feel like I'm worthy, I'm valuable, I should trust myself, I should trust my gifts, my capabilities, my mother did zero of that. And my sister did zero of that. And the interesting thing is that I always tried to be that for them, to be a confidence booster, to be a support system, to be a pillar of strength. But not only were they not able to be those things to me, they were also abusive. So today, we had to go to a family gathering. And it's moments like these, like, I hate spending time with my sister now. I really, really do. Like, I just don't want to be with her. When I'm in the house, I spend most of my time in my room at this point because, like I said, it's exhausting to be with her because she's very negative. And even if you try to be positive, because another thing, my sister seems to hate it when you try to put a positive twist in things. Like maybe she'll talk about someone and say, oh, why was she wearing that? And then you say, oh, maybe that's like their personal style. And then she'll say, yeah, but it's ugly. Like, how could you walk out with some? Like, she will try to suck you into her negativity. So when you bring like a positive comment or opinion to something, she's trying to draw you into her negativity up until, she gets you to admit that, oh, this person's outfit is ugly, or they shouldn't have done that, or they shouldn't have went that. Like, it's very exhausting to be with her. Like, never mind the fact that she will make you feel small, but it's also just feeling like you have to defend other people. You have to defend other people's actions and choices because she will always be nitpicking and judging other people. So today we go to a family gathering and we wake up super early because there was a bit of a distance, so we had to travel. So we have dogs. And my mother says to me, I should give the dogs food and then I should give one dog meat, right? Okay. My sister decides to lock up. I give the dogs the food and then I give the other dog the meat. And then when she's about to head out, now she only has like one place to lock. She keeps on saying to me, give this dog the meat. And then I tell her, I already gave the dog the meat. Like, I hate my sister. I never thought I'd get to a point where I say, I hate my sister, but I do. I hate her. She's intolerable. She's the worst. She's literally the worst, and she's not getting better with age. It seems she's just getting worse and worse. No matter how much we talk about it, there have been so many times where I've talked to my sister about her tone, about her attitude, about her manner of approach. And she always says, I'm trying to change, I'm getting better, but she never really changes. And then I end up going to the car after that whole thing. And then she gets in the car. And like my sister will talk to you like you are a 6-year-old child. And not only a 6-year-old child, like a stupid 6-year-old child who should have listened to her. She gets in the car and she's like, well, why didn't you give the dog the meat? And I tell her, I already gave the dog the meat. Well, you were supposed to give the dog the meat when I was going out so that the dog wouldn't jump on me. First of all, the instructions to give the dogs the food and the other one, the meat, came from my mother, not from her. So I knew what I had to do, what I had been told to do. But because I didn't do it the way that she likes it, like, this is another thing with my sister. She likes things to be her way. This is part of the emotional abuse. It is emotional abuse. It is emotional abuse. And I have to keep on reminding myself that. Because these things have been normalized to me, thinking like, oh, this is how just family is. Like that, I hate that. I hate it when people say, oh, that's just how family is. Because essentially what people are saying is that you should tolerate abuse. You should tolerate being miserable, being mistreated by your family just because that's how families are. I'm done. Like I'm not falling for that crap. It is crap. It is complete crap. I'm not going to be abused in the name of family. I'm not going to be abused in the name of, oh, that's just how family is. No more. Like I've been abused to a point of depression. I've been abused to a point of anxiety for all my life. I was barely able to function and cope in the world for most of my life because I tolerated what my family did, all in the name of, oh, that's just how families are. No. If my family is going to kill me, then no thank you. No thank you to that family. Like, please let me be, because I'm getting destroyed. I was dying a slow death because I tolerated all the things that people just like to throw as, oh, that's just how families are. Yeah, family fights. Like, listen, I'm not arguing with the fact that sometimes as a family you'll have an argument. Sometimes as a family you'll fight about something. But it's the number of times it happens. Because for me, it has happened for almost my entire life. Almost consistently, frequently. So it's not just that we have fights every now and again. It's a consistent emotional abuse. It's a frequent emotional abuse. So stuff that. Stuff the whole it's just family stuff. Stuff it. I really don't have time for that. So she gets in the car, starts speaking to me like I'm a 6-year-old stupid child. And like just my mood dropped. And this has always just been the case with my sister. She just has a way of just bringing my mood down, because now she made me feel small. She made me feel stupid. Like I didn't do it the way that it was supposed to be done. And I just kept quiet for half of the trip because I was just annoyed. And I hate that. I hate that she can influence me in a way that she can change my mood. And here's what's annoying. Because now then she sees that, like, I don't want to talk. Then she puts on music and then she starts singing. You know what's annoying? When someone upsets you and then they want to show you that they're fine. You know what I mean? Like they want to show you that, hey, you can sit there and sulk, but I'm fine. Because obviously we had just had this argument. But now that she's putting on music and playing music during the trip and singing, she's showing me, again, this is part of the psychological abuse. What she's doing in that moment and what she has always done is just trying to prove that, oh, I'm okay. You're the one who holds grudges. Because that's the thing with this dysfunctional family of mine, is that they upset you. They make you angry. Then they don't want to deal with the situation. They don't want you to address it. They don't want you to confront them. And then when you are upset because you've been made to be upset, when you are angry because you've been made to be angry, then they act like they are completely fine, leaving you to seem like you are the villain, to seem like, oh, you are the one who doesn't easily get over things. Because now it seems like, oh, like, why are you just always taking things so personally? Or why are you still holding on to that? Like, the reason I'm still upset is because you upset me. And we didn't even fully address it. You didn't apologize. But now that I am upset, I am made to seem like, oh, you hold on to things. You don't forgive. You hold grudges. That is how she was making me feel. So she puts on music, she listens to music just to show me that she's fine. I'm the one who now has a problem because I'm the one who's not talking. She's just so annoying. So annoying. Okay, remainder of the day. And just to show that, because I've heard this being said a lot, and I always say it on my episodes, that what is commonly said about narcissistic people, emotional abusive people, manipulators, bullies, all those things, what is often said is that you shouldn't take it personally. And the first time I heard it, I was like, excuse me, you can't say I shouldn't take it personally when someone emotionally abuses me, when someone manipulates me, gaslight me, because it's happening to me. It is directed to me. But the reason that they often say that you shouldn't take it personally, firstly, it's because these people are dealing with their own issues. This is like projection 101. Hurt people, hurt people. They just taking out their stuff on you. But secondly, the reason you shouldn't take it personally, the reason I shouldn't take it personally is that they don't only do it to you. Like, the more I observe my sister with my mother, my sister with other people, I realize that she's actually emotionally abusive even to other people. She's a bully. That's just who she is. So in as much as when it happens, it is directed to me and it feels very personal, but seeing her do it to other people makes me realize that it is actually not as personal as I think it is. It is just her just being rotten, honestly. She's just rotten, and she spews her rottenness wherever she goes. So in that sense, it's not as personal. It's not like I'm the only one that she treats this way. It's just that with me, I'm the closest with her. So obviously, I get to experience more of the abuse. But when I really, really observe how she is with some of her friends, I can see the traits of abusiveness. And it even makes me sad because I can see that some people who are close with her, they don't even see that the way sometimes she talks to them is abusive or belittling or manipulative or whatnot. So later, right, now we at this family gathering, and then we are grabbing food. Like, the event is over, now we're grabbing food. I grab my food first. I go wait by the grass because, like, right next to the line. And then she comes. We were with a relative, and then she says, let's go to the car. We're going to eat in the car. And then I say, but wait, let's wait for our mother. Like, how is she going to know that we're going to eat to the car? Did you tell her? And then she's like, no, she'll find us there. In my mind, I'm thinking, like, how will she know? Like, she's still in the line. She'll turn around once she got her food and she'll be like, where are they? And she won't even know that we have gone to eat in the car. But while we're heading to the car, then we realize that we don't have the keys. My mother has the keys. So we end up waiting outside. And then my mother obviously turns around, doesn't see us. Then she goes to the tent, ends up sitting there. Then we end up going back inside to look for my mother. When we get there, my sister again does this thing where she speaks to a person like, she's so condescending, she's so patronizing, she's so, I don't even know what other word I can describe her as. She gets to my mother, and I've said this before, that I know that my mother is scared of my sister because I also used to be scared of her, because she's snappy, she has an attitude, she's very overpowering. She gets to my mother and she says, but why are you sitting here? We were supposed to go to the car. And then my mother was also completely annoyed. She looks at her and she says, but you didn't tell me that you're going to go and eat in the car. You leave me behind in the line, and then when I turn around, you are not there. And you didn't even tell me that you want to go and eat in the car. And my sister is the worst, But I didn't even try to, like, get in between, because I never want to get in between them. Like, I never even want to be like, I don't want to intervene, because you can be like siding, because at this point I was siding with my mother, because that's exactly what I told my sister. Like, how can we be going to the car without informing my mother? And because I was the first one who, like, got the food, I waited there thinking that they had discussed, like, where we're gonna eat, only for my sister to come and just say, let's go to the car. That's where, like, my mother's gonna find us. And, like, I saw how also annoyed my mother felt, and also feeling disrespected, because honestly, the fact that she can also speak to my mother like she's a 6-year-old stupid child, that is disrespect. Because at the end of the day, no matter how narcissistic my mother is and emotional abusive, she's still the mother. And the fact that my sister can just feels the right to speak to my mother like that, I saw how annoyed my mother was. And we also, like, we had this other relative, and for my sister to speak to my mother like that in front of this relative, not only was it disrespectful, it was also humiliating for my mother. But I couldn't really intervene, because the reason that my sister is like this is majorly influenced by my mother, because my mother did make my sister the golden child. And so it's like feeding the monster while it's still young. And then when it grows up to be big, you no longer can control it. I think my mother fed this monster sister of mine. And now that it's too big, she also can't control it. And now the monster is also turning against her. But it was fun while she was nursing it and just like, giving it cookies because she loved it. But the point of this all is that I currently hate my sister.